Driscoll, and as I have just proven to you, I am a rubbish pianist. But I have one of these, and I suspect that many of you have as well. If you are expecting a masterclass on the Disklavier, then you may be disappointed, you may not. I am a long way down from the experts like Richie Hayes or Mark Fontana or Andrew Trott. But let's face it, I am the better looking one. So I've got lots and lots of messages and emails from people who have been playing these WAV files, and they all ask basically the same question, which is, how do you do it? How do you organize your music? What do you play it on? How do you connect it to the piano? So I thought, rather than try and write it all down, it would be a lot easier just to make a few short videos showing how I do it. It's not the only way to do it, but it's just the way that I found is the most convenient. A lightning history lesson. Shortly after the Earth cooled, Yamaha came out with this player piano system that they called the Disklavier. And we started off with these things, floppy disk with MIDI files on them. And this is an E3, which means that it doesn't play them in this format, but it can play MIDI files. And everyone was kind of happy with MIDI files because they were just giant tape recorders. But over a period of time, people wanted more. So Yamaha began to invest in different types of music media, meaning that they came out with this Piano Soft series. And putting aside the pure, what I call the pure MIDI solo piano stuff, which I do like, but I can't listen to 24 hours of it straight off. They came up with, I don't know, I call it sort of karaoke stuff, where you've got synthesized backing tracks and whatever, and it sounds a bit naff, to be honest. But later on, they decided that it would be better to try and synchronize the piano with real music. So you would have a real CD like this, which is the Phantom of the Opera, original London production, which is still the best one, should open soon. And then they would give you one of these, which is Phantom of the Opera, original London production, and you would stick this in the CD player, you would put this in the floppy disk player, and then somewhat tragically they would synchronize together, and it was all a bit of a faff and all a bit of a palaver. So the next step, I suppose, was to try and combine the MIDI track and the music track together onto one thing, and this one thing happened to be a CD. And then you get these. This is a collector's item now. This is a Piano Soft Plus audio disc, which contains the real audio. So if you're buying this, if you're buying the Sgt. Pepper album, it's the real Beatles. It's not the sing-along karaoke Beatles or anything. So it contains the real music on one of the channels, normally the left, for Disklaviers, and the MIDI track is recorded on the right. So these things never ever go out of sync. They remain locked together, and they're all on one device. The problem is, we don't do these anymore, do we? Nobody goes and buys DVDs or VHS cassettes anymore because we tend to stream everything. So rather than have these discs, and I started off collecting these, they were hideously expensive, and the repertoire or the library from Yamaha was very, very small. I think I bought John Denver's Greatest Hits as my first one, and I thought it was so fantastic. I just kept playing it and playing it, and then to my horror discovered that it was one of 5 that I could buy. So the WAV file that's actually on here, it's actually called a CDA file, but it's the same thing. These are the files that I play. If you were to rip this on your computer, rip this disc into iTunes, you would discover that it's a WAV file. And these are the discs and the files that I love best, which is real original recordings with beautiful piano accompaniment. And you can get a bit carried away with Disklaviers, and it's these videos, that although they're really about Disklaviers, they would also apply to piano disc systems, they would apply to QRS systems. It's just the terminology would change. But I did discover an amazing thing, that if you put your fingers on the keys and you wiggle them about, the piano itself makes a noise without even having to be plugged into the mains. Isn't that incredible? So apart from being a rubbish pianist, I'll try to show you how I do it, and hopefully you can sit in your armchair using your phone or your iTunes or whatever you want to use, and choose from this massive library of original artist songs, which now I think is over about 4,500 songs, and you can arrange them into playlists, and you can put Sarah's dinner party playlist and happy Sunday morning playlist together, exactly as you do on any iTunes type player. I happen to use iTunes because it's free, and it is the world's most common media player. But if you want to use something else, that's entirely up to you. So I'm going to now turn this into a series of screen shots, starting from the very beginning, when the file actually arrives on the internet, or the album arrives on the internet, normally via mail big file, because the one thing about WAV files is they're very, very detailed, which is why you have trouble using Bluetooth with these WAV files, and we'll explain a bit about that later on. But because they are so detailed, they're also massive in size. So they arrive via mail big file. We'll take you through all of the steps, and obviously if you've got any questions, you can always mail me or get hold of me, message me or something. So let's give it a go.